welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Ali.
And I'm Sarah.
And I say this every week, but
No, you're not allowed to say it. Find a new way to say it.
No, we have got so much to cover this week because this World Cup is the tournament that keeps on giving. Yeah. There has been no dull moments in any of the games.
There really haven't been.
I'm just so excited to watch this whole tournament. And, I've just been pumped. I
could hear it in your voice in the intro.
It's like my Christmas. A whole month of women's football. Bring it on.
It really is. These games have just been so much fun. We are so sad that we can't, review every single one. But we've got a lot on the docket today. Quite a bit on the docket today.
We do. So we are basically at the end of Matchday 1. We've got one more left, which is South Korea versus Colombia. If you listen to our first episode, you will understand this was my game to watch. I'm sad it's at stupid o'clock UK time, but you better believe I will be watching the replay of this. South Korea, Colombia. I am so excited.
And this is fun because basically this episode will be out around the time this game kicks off, the Colombia-South Korea game. But yeah, that's the last game of match day 1. And then all teams will have made their World Cup 2023 debut. So we've got quite a bit to talk about, Ali. But first of all, I want to just say one more week and we will be boots on the ground in Australia covering this. And we are so excited about it. The second thing I want to say is we've added a new segment. We're really excited about it. It'll be at the end of this episode, and we're curious to hear, what you all think about it. But really, this is just going to be an upcoming games/storylines to look ahead to segment. And what we're going to do is we're just going to lay out all of the matchups between now and when our next episode drops. And we're going to give you some storylines for each of those games. And this was really all born from the fact that, Ali, we've talked about this. Here in the US, I know they're doing a lot better job in the BBC, which I fully believe.
Yeah, but BBC ITV are smashing it, I have to
say. But at least here in the US, Fox Soccer, which has the exclusive rights with the exception of Universal, if you want to watch it in Spanish, which is really fun. But Fox Soccer has basically been giving all of the 30 minutes of the pregame to the USA. So no matter what game is on, the 30 minutes of the pregame leading up to kickoff should be all about the game, right? We want to get excited about the storylines. We want to hear about both of the teams, the players to watch, the history of the teams. But instead, Fox seems to be maybe airing 2 minutes of coverage of those teams, about 5 minutes to 10 minutes of the US, and then the rest is just advertisement. So we're really not getting the storylines we want. So we figured, you know what? Let's just do it ourselves. So we're just going to fill in. That's part of what this podcast was born out of, right? We're going to fill in the gaps that mainstream media is not filling. And, while they do descend on the World Cup every 4 years to fill that gap, we're still here. We appreciate that you're all listening to what you listen to year round. And so we're going to fill that gap in right here, right now. And that'll be at the end of every single World Cup coverage episode. So we hope you enjoy it. Give us your feedback on it.
But before we get into games, we have to talk about the content that is coming out from the players themselves this World Cup.
This is our first World Cup with TikTok, and I think it shows.
Yes. We're all about Merps. We're all about Mary Earps is the queen of TikTok at the moment. She has got it going on.
Her and Millie Bright are the best roommates that ever were roommates. They are too funny on TikTok together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Normally it's Millie Bright and Rachel Daly, so it's quite interesting to get Merps in the mix and just, it's fantastic. And then, of course, we're seeing all of the fans that are gathered to see their teams. We've seen some crazy costumes out there. I've seen the Dutch have got all the pigtails.
Yep.
And then, of course, the game at Panama, that one Panama fan that everybody fell in love
that one
with.
Sad man. It was just Brazil scored and it was the one Panama fan. It was you can't find any other Panama fans.
But there were loads of them. There were loads. I don't know how many were in the stadium, but there was talk that they were all at the watching parties.
Oh, I'm sure there were.
Parks.
It was just so funny. And I'm surprised nobody's really memed him yet, but I'm sure it will happen.
So today we are going to cover so many games, so much analysis. We're going to talk about France, Jamaica, Brazil, Germany, Morocco, USA, England, and probably a few more because we just want to throw them all in. Plus, we're going to talk about the headlines that are coming out of the World Cup that are away from gameplay, including the whole goalkeeper shirt debacle with Mary Earps and the stupid reporter in the Moroccan press conference.
All right, we have to start with Group F. We knew this was going to be a great group. This is Brazil, France, Jamaica, Panama, and we have just so much to talk about between these four teams, between these two games. We had France versus Jamaica first, and then we had Brazil versus Panama. There is so much to say here. And I think the game we're going to highlight the most, we're going to talk about all of them, but let's dig in. We have to dig in on France versus Jamaica. It ended in a 0-0 draw. Listen, I think some people, when they hear that scoreline, might be surprised, but when you think about it, and if you listen to our World Cup preview episode on this group, it's not that surprising. But let's get into it.
No, but first, we just wanted to touch quickly on a hot topic that's coming out of the games, which is the issue of red cards. We have seen 3 red cards in this tournament already, and all 3 have gone to players of colour. They've all gone to black players, which is a thing in its own.
Yeah, so the 3 are Abiona of Nigeria. This was in the Nigeria-Canada game. And listen, this was 100% warranted. This was a straight red card, the only straight red card we've seen. We all saw the slow motion of Ashley Lawrence's leg bending in a way that I still don't understand. It's like she was Elastigirl. The fact that her leg did not break is unbelievable. That game kind of fully got out of hand, and we'll come on to, if you thought that game was rough, just wait for Canada versus Ireland, which is coming up. We'll come on to that. The second red card was Zambia's goalkeeper, Musonda. She got a second yellow, and Jamaica's Bunny Shaw, 2 yellow cards. And I guess it's important to highlight here, we're not saying that all of these cards were unwarranted. We're just saying that when you break it down, like, yes, these are warranted. Nobody's saying that they aren't. However, you do have to consider that perhaps fouls are being called more frequently on black players, and we have to be aware of that inherent bias. We, of course, are going to talk about Bunny Shaw's 2 yellow cards when we get into that game right now, because I think those are worth diving into. Those are perhaps 1, perhaps 2, maybe could have been called differently. We'll see. I actually don't really know your opinion on that yet, Allie.
All I'm saying very quickly is I don't think Bunny Shaw did anything worse than Kate McCabe did. Kate McCabe got away with 1 yellow card, Bunny got 2. That's my
I think that's
only
a fair
take
assessment
on that one.
Well, while we're in it, let's just say I thought one of the cards was warranted, one wasn't. And kind of you can pick which one was warranted and which wasn't, but I thought Bunny Shaw should have ended that game with 1 yellow. And the fact that she was actually the player on that field being fouled the most, and yet she was the one awarded both yellows, I think also needs to be taken into consideration. That was a very physical game, and there were plenty of tackles on her that absolutely could have warranted a yellow card.
For sure. I'm surprised that France didn't come away with more, to be honest, especially in that midfield. That midfield were going in so hard to try and stop the Jamaican attack.
And that's part, this is really easy transition into the game because, that's part of what France wanted to do. They want to put a body on Bunny Shaw. That's what you kind of have to do with a player as dynamic as Bunny Shaw is. You just have to stop her before she starts. And so that's part of it. That's part of the physicality. That's part of soccer is if you want to disrupt play, you can go the route of playing physical. And France was absolutely doing that. Should they have gotten a few more calls, a few more maybe yellows? I think absolutely. But at the end of the day, 0-0, an incredible result for Jamaica. You have to just say that.
Huge. Absolutely huge. I think very few people going into that game would have thought that Jamaica would get anything out of that, especially how France have been playing up to the build-up of the World Cup.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, France is always like teeter-totter, back and forth. Which France are we going to get? We said this before the tournament started. We don't know. We thought that hopefully with a new coach in Renard, not Wendy, that there was going to be this new spark, this new love, this new, really just like joy in the French team. And we'd be able to see the French team of 2019, but like with more joy, basically. And it didn't seem that way.
So disjointed. They couldn't string passes together. There was like one ray of light, which was Diani on that wing and up front. It was poor. It was so poor, which I think France have to be disappointed in themselves on how they played.
I would agree. I thought Diani was fantastic. I actually thought Les Sommer played a great game.
I don't know what she did. She was so like ghost-like. I barely forgot she was there until the commentators talked about her.
Oh, I thought she played a great game, honestly.
She did nothing.
I've seen Les Sommer play worse games. And other than that, there's not all that much that stands out to say about France right now.
No, and the thing is, you would hope, like you said, because like Renard seems to be a good manager. He's gone in with like the right attitude, and he seems to be treating his players well. So part of me thinks is there's still that rot from the previous manager that they haven't quite been able to shake off. Maybe they haven't been able to feel that joy yet because they think it's going to all come crashing down because we've had it before where it was good and then the manager was terrible for so many years. I don't know, but everybody just seemed so out of pace and out of sync.
I want to give them a little bit of credit because this can't be like how we talked about Norway, you know, like where, in terms of where things fall, this was not a disaster by any means for France. They're still in a fine place. They still can advance. It wasn't a disastrous performance. They owned the most of the possession. They had a ton of shots, not that many on target. It was kind of like that game where you see a team developing and making a lot of things happen, but nothing that's incredibly dangerous. They had a few moments that were incredibly dangerous and they were not able to capitalize on them. And otherwise, it was a lot of opportunities created, but that final piece was missing to actually make it a really, really dangerous opportunity. And honestly, force the Jamaican goalkeeper in Spencer to make a ton of saves. Now, Spencer had a great game and she did make some saves, but for the amount of possession France had, for the amount of opportunities they were able to create, they should have been able to create more really dangerous opportunities. We're talking like the difference between shots on target versus shots, you know?
100%. I think a big question that came out of France was with their starting lineup, do you start Ken Tadali? Because you look at her stats in the WSL, yes, she didn't get that many goals, but she is in the top 5 for assists. She's actually only one behind the second place players that got assists. So she's got 8 assists, plus she scored 5 goals in that league. Do you not think you should start her because she came on and then France sort of livened up a bit, and she came on with the passion and that spark that we thought we might see.
I mean, listen, I don't think it's a bad idea. Why not? She's a proven player. She's talented. I think, why not? I think the bigger question though becomes, do you want to make adjustments to your starting lineup right before your next game, which is the big game in this group, which is Brazil, which could be the deciding factor for France, frankly, if they advance first, or maybe, since they're sitting with 1 point, if they advance at all. France need a result out of Brazil.
Yes, because the group stages is the time to do it, because there's no point saying, oh, we could have done that when you're on the flight back to France, not coming out the group stages. So yes, now is the time to play around and get that result and try and find those goals, because there was nobody that looked like they were desperate to score until Dali came on for me. And then they started to pick up a bit. So yeah, play around with it for the thing. You need these 3 points.
All right, let's talk about Jamaica, because obviously we want to talk about Bunny Shaw because she is such a superstar and so much of Jamaica revolves around her. But I thought that they had so many strong performances across the entire field. I mean, specifically, I really wanted to call out Drew Spence, the Tottenham player. I think that might be one of the best games I've seen Drew Spence play in how she was holding down the midfield, not only defensively, but really how she was able to contribute to the attack. Bunny Shaw had so much riding on her, not only in obviously creating the attack for Jamaica, but also in the hold-up play. And Drew Spence was able to be that player, almost that box-to-box number 8, that's able to get back on defense and is also able to get forward and help out and be that support for Bunny Shaw to lay that ball off and allow Jamaica to hold the ball, get up the field so that they can start their offense and create opportunities that weren't just countering.
For me, Wiltshire, I thought Wiltshire had a great game at the back, was really great defensively covering the areas, really putting the pressure on. France didn't necessarily have to go in for the tackles, but just her presence put France's shot off. I thought she had a fantastic game, the youngster.
I'm going to call it both Swabies, both center backs. And I love one of them tweeted, hey, my name and the other Swaby's name is pronounced Sway B, just so you know. Thank you very much. I thought that look, Jamaica were very organized. They were in like a 4-4-1-1, which is a defensive-ish formation because it is you're setting one of your forwards back. So it's not a 4-4-2. And the Swabies, along with the goalkeeper Spencer, kept This team organized on defense. They were very difficult for France to break down, and you have to give them that credit.
Becky Spencer is like the opposite of Millie Bright in the fact that she can't do it for club, but can do it for country. Like, she played one of the... And I say that as someone who used to play for my team. She played one of the best games I've ever seen Becky Spencer play. And when you look at the goal difference that Tottenham accrued in the season, yes, she wasn't always their number one goalie, but it was like, how could she can do this for country, but she can't do it for club?
Jamaica will be missing Bunny Shaw for their next game versus Panama. But this could be a really key game for Jamaica. Jamaica just tied France, and there's a good chance, let's just say, for the sake of it, let's say France plays Brazil and Brazil wins. If Jamaica gets the 3 points against Panama, Jamaica sit ahead of France, and then it just really becomes about goal differential in terms of who could advance. This is a true opportunity right now, given this result, this 0-0 result for Jamaica, to do something special and advance, but they will not have their key player, their emotional leader, their goal scorer, their superstar in Bunny Shaw. I mean, is it even a dumb question, but it has to be asked, how big is this that Bunny Shaw will not be there for the Panama game? However, the good news is she'll be back for the Brazil game. Would you rather have her for Panama, or would you and try to get those 3 points and just take the L against Brazil, or would you? I mean, there's obviously no choice, but how key is this?
I would rather have her for Brazil. The way they all play, having watched the games now, I think what Bunny Shaw does, she wasn't looking very hot on actually scoring, but like you said, what she does is she draws defenders out. They want to put players on Bunny Shaw because of her prolific scoring in, domestic. And that gives Jamaica the break to go through with other players. So I think you want her for Brazil to be able to do that, to draw those players out. Panama, I think they're such an even team, the two of them, that I do think that Jamaica will edge it over Panama, even without Bunny Shaw.
I agree. I was actually going to say, I don't think that Panama and Jamaica are an even team. I think I agree that I'd want Bunny Shaw for Brazil because I think that Jamaica can do this without Bunny Shaw against Panama. That is no disrespect to Panama, but I think Jamaica, they're just a team that can score more, and they will match up against Panama in a much better way than Panama against Jamaica. I think they have an opportunity here to do something special, to take the 3 points against Panama and see what happens. All right, speaking of Brazil and Panama, we've got to talk about this game. And I don't even know where to kick it off, but let's go for the jugular here. Is Brazil the best team in this tournament based on the performance across all of Matchday 1? Did they have the best performance?
No, but they came very close.
You think they're second to Germany?
I do think they're second to Germany. And that's just because I think Germany was like coming back to Germany of old. However, Brazil probably played my favourite style of football because it was so clean, fast, furious, fluid, all of the Fs. It was just a beautiful thing to watch Brazil. Like, just the way they played today was just beautiful. You can tell that Pia has been working on something for so long. Brazil has been such a project for Pia, and it's finally paying off.
Ali, I feel like we've said this a million times, or at least I've said this a million times for the past 2 or 3 years, even since every time we talk about Brazil, but I'm going to say it again because it needs to be said right now. In that, Pia Sundhage is one of the most underrated coaches in this game in the way that she can develop a team, recruit a team. And what she's been able to do with Brazil is not just recruit, but also take the joy and the creativity that we know from Brazil and put it into a structure so that they have that creativity mixed with a style of play that allows them to not just be individuals, but bring their creativity and play together. Previous to this World Cup, Brazil has been creative, but it's been individually creative. Now they're creative as a team, and that's what Pia Sundhage has done. And we've been watching it over the past 4 years, and it is absolutely gorgeous. They came out firing, Ali. Like, they wasted no time. This team was ready to go, and everybody should be terrified of them right now.
100%. 100%. Also, I'm biased because I got them in my sweepstake. But
I mean, and can I just throw in, like, this might be annoying, but whatever. Like, to the mainstream media who didn't rate Brazil, who didn't have them in power rankings, we told you so.
Yeah, exactly. Listen to the
Sometimes it
football
just
fans.
has to be
We
said.
know.
We told you so. All right, before we move on to Panama, though, I do want to say a couple things about Brazil beyond what we just said and kind of like the intricacies of it. First of all, on a high level, Marta looks like she is just having the best time of her life right now.
Yes.
I'm so happy for her.
She's living. She's absolutely living. She's just like, bring it on. She keeps saying this is going to be her last World Cup.
It's
I
going
disagree.
to be. No, it's going to be. She's not going to do a Formiga. She's not going to go
Yes.
7. I don't think so.
I reckon she will.
I mean, I hope you're right. But
I reckon that if Brazil get far in this World Cup, even close to like winning it, she will come back and do a Formiga and do 7. I can't
you
see her
can
not.
feel how much Brazil want this. And a lot of it, I think, is because they want it for Marta. Marta is the player that all of these players grew up watching. They all saw her speech in 2019. They all know, like, oh my gosh, I'm getting chills. But, you know, Marta's been doing interviews and she's been speaking about, I mean, I cried watching one of them. She talked about her individual accolades and how she would give them all back if they could just win this World Cup. Like, she doesn't care about them. She just wants the World Cup. And she talks a lot about how, you know, she played soccer because she wanted a better life for her family, but also because what means the most to her is fighting for this equality and bringing the women's game up to where it should be and getting equity. And that's part of what we all love. Maybe that's what we all love the most about women's soccer, is that it does really all center around that when it's not about the game. And it's so beautiful to hear her speak about it. And it is so beautiful to see her just smiling and having fun, you know? And seeing her in the post game with Ari Borges, who we can talk about now, getting the player of the match, like to see them together celebrating Borges, who had a hat trick and an assist in her World Cup debut. That was her first ever World Cup game. You can't help but feel that, is this the team where like the energy and the stars just might be aligning?
Yeah, I think for me, like, Borges is one of those things that all 3 goals were beautiful. All 3 goals were absolutely phenomenal. But for me, it was the assist.
I knew you were going to say that.
Because it was so unselfish. How many times have we seen a player like run up and take the shot even though they have not got the best option? She had the foresight to go, do you know what? My teammate can whack this in because I've distracted the goalkeeper. Beautiful little kickback, and then got that 3rd goal. So for me, it was just, she rightly was player of the match. She was stunning in this match.
I mean, I completely agree. That was the goal that sent everybody wild. Everybody was like, and this is Brazilian football, everybody. It was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. The only thing about Brazil is that, I don't think that they were tested at all defensively in this game by Panama. So, and by the last, 10 minutes, they did start to look a little tired, a little sloppy. And that's something to keep an eye on, frankly. And the last part is, I just want to see a little bit more patience in their possession. But I think that they were able to kind of fall into a good rhythm with that.
Talking about Panama, I do think they were unlucky to face such an informed Brazil, because they do have some great players. I mean, my big hope is that a club, either the NWSL or the WSL or somewhere in Europe, will take Yeneth Bailey and give her the coaching that she deserves. Not necessarily deserves, because she is such a talent. She's been picked out by other goalkeepers as a bright young talent, but unfortunately she's playing in a club in Panama where she's not getting that training and that love and that everything. So I just need a club to take her and bring her to.
Let's give
her
Panama credit where credit is due. This was their World Cup debut. This was their first ever World Cup game. They were one of 8 debutantes in this World Cup. And for this to be their first game, I think that they should be very proud of what they did. They were organized on defense. Despite the scoreline, they were hard for Brazil to break down. And, they came out in a low block. They were in a 5-4-1. You don't really expect somebody to score when they come out in a 5-4-1, and that's what we saw. But despite that, I thought that they stayed strong. It was really wonderful to see what it meant to them as a team. And, they happened into a really tough group, and that's it. But they should be really proud.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to totalfootballanalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to totalfootballanalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
So another massive game that happened was Germany v Morocco. It was 6-0, so this is the high scoring game we have seen of Matchday 1. And it was so beautiful, but unfortunately it was like one team was firing on all cylinders and one team was not.
Yeah, but actually, if we're going to rate, so this was Morocco's World Cup debut along with Panama's. We just spoke about Panama. This is Morocco's, not only their World Cup debut, they're the first Arab team to ever play in a Women's World Cup. So a massive congratulations to them. They hadn't even qualified for an Africa Cup of Nations before 2000 or since the year 2000. And then they just got second and were able to qualify for this World Cup. And quite frankly, I thought Morocco's performance, despite, the scorelines being different, Brazil beat Panama 4-0 and Germany beat Morocco 6-0. I thought Morocco's performance was actually more impressive than Panama's. I thought
I disagree.
I thought that they came out well. I thought that against a very organized Germany defense, which we have to just say, it's a way more organized than a Brazilian defense, Morocco were still able to get their chances. They did something which I very much respect, which is they did not come out in that low block and they were still able to play their game. And there were some moments where it did look like they were going to score on Germany. There was a moment where they did score on Germany and it got called back. So I thought in terms of how they performed, outside of the bubble of course, they let 6 goals in against potentially the best team in the world right now. I thought that this was a fantastic performance from Morocco.
I do think it was a good performance from Morocco. However, I feel like they let the occasion get to them a little bit more than Panama did. I think when they had their own goal, their heads just went.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah.
So for me, it felt like they let the occasion get to them a little bit more. But as you said, it's their first World Cup. But let's quickly just talk about Germany.
As quick as we can. We're trying to do some quick hits right now, everybody. We're trying to make this real quick. Yeah. We'll hit on a lot of games.
But the big storyline is Pop, Pop, Pop. Alexander Pop. Is there anything that goes better than Alexander Pop and a headed goal?
It's like coffee and a croissant.
It is. It's so classic. It's so classic, and she's just. It was quite funny actually because Fran Kirby was doing the commentary for the English coverage of this game, and she was like, we were so relieved when it came over the news that she was not playing in the Euros
Pop
final.
Is 32 years old, and she has gotten better and better and better every single year of her career. She scored her career high in club this year, and I've never seen her fire on all cylinders like she has been for this national team in the past couple of years. We saw what she was able to do in the Euros, and she has clearly not missed a step since then, and maybe even gotten better. Like, she was falling away from the goal when she put that second header in. She was laughing because I'm sure she was kind of like, how did that happen?
Yeah, how did I do that? Because you're that good, Alexandra Pop. You are that good. And they were missing some big hitters. They were missing Oberdorf. They were missing Hager, but they were still just beautiful. It was just a well-oiled machine.
I mean,
coming out of Germany.
I think that despite how well they played, it was very clear that they were missing those two. The middle of the field was weaker for Germany. They're a team that high presses immediately when they get the ball back. That's actually something that them and Brazil have in common, and they both did very well in their games. But you could tell it was less so in the middle. They were weaker in the middle. They seemed to want to keep the ball on the width when they were on offense. I mean, understandably, if I have Pop in the middle of the field, I probably want to get some crosses in too, right? But they were notably missing. So the fact that Germany were this scary without them, come on now.
They're a scary team. All
right, let's move on to Italy versus Argentina, and let's do this very quickly. Italy won 1-0 in a last-minute goal. This was a game we were really excited about because of the Italian style versus the Argentinian South American style. Thoughts on this game, Allie?
So physical, for a start. Like, this is probably up there for me with, like, Nigeria, Canada. Like, it was so physical, this game. I will say heartbreak for Argentina because they held on for so long for possibly getting their first points in a World Cup. And, it just shows the difference that, Italy had that strength on the bench that they could just bring on because literally sub comes on 83 minutes, sub scores at 87 minutes. So, yeah, but my heart was breaking for Argentina that they were this close. So, of course, we have to talk about our home nations. But don't worry, guys, we're only going to keep it brief because we did full analysis on our Patreon. Sarah took the analysis for the USA with Tim, and I did a Since 71 crossover with Laura and Ambi talking about the England game. But we will give you a brief synopsis of our thoughts, starting with USA. USA.
It's funny because I don't know if this happened to you, but like initial reactions to the US game versus how I feel as it has like slowly settled in my brain since they played, they align, but like ever so slightly different. Really, I'm happy with this. 3-0 against Vietnam, got the 3 points. They started the tournament well. It's one of the strongest team games that I've seen from the US in like their cohesion and knowing what they were trying to do that I've seen from them really since 2019, to be totally frank. So they're continuing to build. I understand where there was a lot of concern around like, oh my gosh, it's just a 3-0 scoreline. But 3-0 is a strong scoreline, and we're about to see what we are made of on Wednesday versus the Netherlands. Like that is the game.
I do agree it was a strong start for you guys. I do think there's still some shakiness, especially at the defence level. They haven't quite settled in. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the terrible penalty from Alex Morgan.
Made up by the incredible assist from Alex Morgan.
Yeah. So I do think it was a slightly shaky start for the US, but it was a great score. And you look at some of the other, like, in it to win it teams, they've all had not the best of starts to World Cup. And tournament football, it's about winning it, grinding it out sometimes, and I feel like, yeah, job done.
All right, on to England. How'd you feel about England's 1-0 performance over Haiti?
I think not all wins are beautiful. We had a very similar start against Austria in the Euros, and look how that ended up for us. I think now is the time to work out some of those kinks. Yes, Millie Bright was a bit off, but she hasn't played since March. Now is the time for her to get those 90 minutes in. We said it on the Patreon, but I would rather she get these minutes in now rather than do 20 minutes here, 30 minutes here and completely lose all flow. Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but you know what?
I would agree. And there were some moments of brilliance that England can definitely build on. Cause for concern yet? No. However, they were caught way too much on the counterattack. That was a massive red flag for me. Lucy Bronze was caught up way too high, while Millie Bright, obviously, like you said, she was shaky. She didn't have her normal recovery speed or game speed or anything like that. Also, though, Haiti is easy to underestimate. So I think it might have been easy for some people, especially who hadn't seen Haiti and CONCACAF, to look at this and say this should have been a bigger scoreline. Haiti is strong, but England, they do need to put more goals away. If it wasn't for Mary Earp's incredible splits leg save, Haiti would have equalized, and this might be a completely different conversation, to be totally honest. I have to say, there's a very funny, I don't know if funny is the word, but there's a funny similarity between England and the US right now, where they seem to be like building the plane while it's in the air. A lot of players who were injured, who were getting their first minutes in many months in the first game of the World Cup, and just trying to piece things together as they move along. So we don't see that a lot. It'll be interesting to continue to follow.
But don't worry, regular WOSO fans. We will be highlighting the USA and England in their next game. So that is England versus Denmark and the US versus the Netherlands, because that is going to be tasty.
We're going to transition from on the field to some off-field topics. The first thing that I think that we really want to touch on, I know it's gotten a lot of coverage in the UK. It's made its way over here. And I love that this is a conversation that we're getting to have right now. And it's maybe mainly due to Mary Earps. Goalkeeper shirts. You cannot buy a Mary Earps goalkeeper jersey if you want to. You can't buy an Alyssa Nair goalkeeper jersey if you want to. You can't buy a Nike goalkeeper shirt. And this is getting a lot of coverage in the UK. Allie, why do you think that this news has like specifically taken off, and how do you feel about it?
I think it's because Mary Earps has turned around and said, my family want to support me. They want to wear my shirt. And like she's even said, I was going to pay for it. I went to Nike and said, I will fund it. I have the fund. I will fund a printing of my shirt. And they went, no. And I think that's why it's the first time I think I've seen a player really step up and be like, this is stupid. And you used to be able to. Like, back in my memory, you used to be able to get, like, way back, men's goalkeeper shirts. You'd be able to get, like...
That's funny. I don't remember ever being able to buy them. And my thought was that it was because they used to be those long sleeve with the padded. And, like, you don't want to buy those. But they're beautiful short sleeve jerseys now.
I definitely had a West Ham goalkeeper shirt.
Really? I remember seeing people with like an Ashlyn Harris jersey, but it was a field jersey. It wasn't a goalkeeper specific jersey. It was just a field jersey with her number and name on it that might have been printed separately. So I actually don't ever remember being able to buy them.
Yeah, so I just remember distinctly, because I'm going to date myself now, but David Seaman, when he was the England #1, you could definitely buy a David Seaman thing. And then they just stopped because, like you said, not everybody wants to be a goalkeeper. Not everybody wants to personalise a shirt. So if you're going to buy a shirt with no name on the back, you're probably just going to buy a normal kit. So but the fact that they turned down Mary Earps' offer saying, I will fund this, this will not cost you anything, they still went, no.
And especially when the player is one of the best goalkeepers, if not the best goalkeeper in the world. And B, you have to be able to recognize a profit opportunity where it is. There is a lot of demand for this. This is not like people wanting to buy, the number 2, sorry, not to insult, but like the number 2 goalkeeper jersey. You want to make one of the best players on the team's jersey available, just no matter the position. So I understand why this is getting a lot of traction. I'm so happy Mary Earps has been able to like step in and step up and give it the light that it deserves and say, hey, this bothers me.
Moving on from one controversy to another, we would be remiss if we did not talk about what happened in the Morocco press conference.
So Steph Yang from The Athletic tweeted this out, that she had joined the Moroccan pregame conference ahead of the game versus Germany. And she reported that there was a reporter there who she did not name, but through a series of other tweets from other people, it seems that it was an English man, asked one of the Moroccan players directly if there are any gay players on the Moroccan squad, given the same-sex relationships are illegal in Morocco. And, I mean, this is disturbing for a lot of reasons. First of all, no matter who you're talking to, this type of question is out of bounds no matter what. Do not ask someone to out their teammates or themselves. And it's specifically out of bounds here, like especially because there was no prior thought in any type of player protection. It is illegal in Morocco to have a same-sex relationship. So putting a player in a position to answer this question is putting them potentially in harm's way.
You can tell it was by a straight man, is all I'm going to say, because anybody who is part of the LGBTQ plus community knows you would never, ever do that. And yes, women's football as a whole is more accepting and we've got more out and open players, but you have to think about who you're asking that question. You should never ask that question. Like, we've had it over in the UK where media are trying to like out certain players, and it's like, it's none of your business. If they put up a picture of their partner on Instagram, it's none of your business still.
Like you said, I think it's very clear that it's a straight man, and probably a straight man that hasn't been in the game all that much, at least in the women's game, because look, this is a larger issue. Women get asked different questions in press conferences. You want to expand that out of sports on the red carpet. They get asked different questions. This is a personal question. This is like a deeply personal question. This is asking somebody, sorry, I'm just going to be very blunt here. This is asking somebody about their sex life. Like, to have the gall to feel like you have the ability and the right, the entitlement to ask somebody that question who you don't know when they have to answer publicly is absolutely beyond me. And there's a lot of sexism involved in this.
Made me angry. It
made me angry, but I really appreciate how Steph Yang went about it, how she tweeted about it, how she informed everybody that it happened without throwing somebody under the bus. Like, I don't think that journalist's career needs to be ended because of this, but it absolutely, because of this, is a big learning opportunity and a learning moment that I certainly hope he takes. And we're on to the last bit of this episode, our brand new segment where we are going to talk storylines and matchups looking ahead, starting from today through our next episode drop date, which is Friday. There's so many storylines we can highlight right now. We did World Cup preview episodes for every single group, and we spent 40 minutes talking about each group. So obviously we can spend like 10 minutes on each team here. We're not going to. We're going to try to give you just like a couple little bits per matchup, per team. So let's go for it.
Let's do it. So, as you are listening to this, the game that will have been on everybody's lips is going to be, well, the games is going to be New Zealand versus the Philippines and Switzerland versus Norway. And the big story that is coming out of Norway is that Graham Hansen and Ingrid Engen will not be in the starting 11, which is, in my opinion, a really stupid idea. Maybe not Engen, but when Caroline Graham Hansen was your best player on that pitch and was the spark,
was arguably the best player in the world, like by some standards.
And you're gonna bench her?
Yeah,
you're gonna bench her?
I think. Look, my opinion on this is that Hege Reece seems to be looking for some type of cohesion in the team, and for some reason thinks that putting these two on the bench might be the answer to it. That's the only thing I can think here. But this is a bold move. This is a sticking my neck out type of move, and we're talking storylines. We mentioned before that Caroline Graham Hansen, before their first game, did say that she thought expectations for the Norway team were too high and that they had a lot of individual talent, but that didn't necessarily translate. Perhaps Hege Reece is not happy with that type of mentality or speaking to the press about that and feels that her on the bench is the best move. But I would agree with you. You're putting Graham Hansen on the bench. I don't know. Probably not going to play out well.
I also just quickly want to say with New Zealand versus Philippines, if New Zealand beat the Philippines, it's like they will progress, which will be massive for New Zealand. They've gone from not winning any games to potentially going into the knockout stages. So that is a huge moment for the Ferns. Just wanted to get that out there.
And moving on to Wednesday, we've got 4 matchups. 2 in Group C. We've got Japan versus Costa Rica and Spain versus Zambia.
So Japan and Spain are even on points and goal difference, so both teams will be playing to put goals away. Both teams shocked the world with how many goals they scored in their first games, but the biggest surprise has to be Japan. The former powerhouse who fell off the podium for years have been slowly climbing back in the past year.
On the other hand, Costa Rica and Zambia need a draw or a win to stay in contention to advance.
So Zambia, this is their first ever World Cup. Please don't forget that. They have had some unfortunate storylines following them, including that their main goalkeeper being injured before the tournament and their backup goalkeeper, as we mentioned, got a red card in the last game. They are now down to their 3rd string keeper. Along with this, we need to continue to talk about the reports that head coach Bruce Mowapi was accused of sexual assault and misconduct going into this tournament.
And finally, back to Spain and Japan. Spain, we all know the trials with their federation and that this isn't even Spain at full strength with a few players deciding not to play because of the environment that the head coach Jorge Vilda creates. And finally, Japan, keep an eye on Mina Tanaka and Jun Endo, who had incredible games in Japan's first matchup.
Now to the game that is basically a boxing match at this point. Yes, Canada versus Ireland.
The goal of this game is for everybody to walk off the field. That's the goal of this game. Everybody walks off the field. Yeah. And listen, I'm sorry, like Canada fans, Ireland fans, this isn't meant as an insult. The fact is, your team has a reputation of being a physical team. And these are 2 physical teams coming up against each other. Oh, baby. Canada are in a fight with their federation, let's not forget. Not only this, but this is Christine Sinclair. She hasn't said it publicly, but it does seem to be that this will be her last World Cup. A reminder that Canada actually won the Olympics in 2021, but seems that nobody believes in them still, despite having that gold medal underneath them.
And with Ireland, this again, remember, is their first World Cup. They are one of the 8 debutants. However, their coach made unfortunate headlines in the run-up to this game with seemingly bad behaviour and treatment of players. You also have to remember that 2 key players in Katie McCabe and Denise O'Sullivan are on yellows, which could prove to count them out.
Absolutely. And this group is still wide open. So speaking of yellows, if more yellows are acquired, that could have an impact on following games in knockout rounds. But this game is absolutely wide open with Ireland. Could be out, though, with a loss. Canada could secure advancing with a win. And frankly, a tie means that everything will be decided in that final group game.
And then the final game, the big one.
I'm going to take this one here. I got this. The 2019 finals rematch has arrived. USA versus Netherlands on Wednesday. We're actually doing a live pregame podcast, unfortunately without Allie, because Allie's going to be fast asleep at that moment. But I will get to interview quite a few fun people. If you are in New York, head to our Instagram and check out all of the details on that, and we will be there. That's a massive, 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 massive game. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Now over to Thursday, and again, we have 3 games on Thursday. Technically, it's 2.5, depending on your time zone, because the final one technically is on Friday for us Europeans. But Thursday, the big game, Portugal versus Vietnam. It is debutant versus debutant. Both showed really well in their first matches. It was very close for both of them. Both of them really need a win in order to keep any contention in progressing. But either way, they could both pull off something really magical.
And over to Australia versus Nigeria. This entire group is physical, and this game will not be an exception. Nigeria tied Canada and will be playing without Abudan, who, as we know, is on a red card. Nigeria, historically, is really the best African nation. Australia, on the other hand, playing so well in front of their home fans. Again, no Sam Kerr for this game, too. So Fowler, Ford, and others will need to step up to secure those 3 points. And with 3 points, Australia, like their co-host New Zealand, could secure their advancing with a win here.
And then the final game on Thursday is Argentina versus South Africa. South Africa played a blinder against Sweden and were very unlucky to come away with a loss on that one. They are the African Cup of Nations winners. They are a team that believes they can pull off a key win and advance under Sweden. This is the moment they have to do it, though. A win will be necessary against Argentina, which is a team that has something to prove with their narrow loss against Italy.
And finally, 2 games on Friday, China versus Haiti and England versus Denmark. I'll let you take England v Denmark first, Allie.
Yes, I can. So yes, it is England versus Denmark. Both teams had a close win. They play very similar styles of football, plus many of the players play with and against each other in the WSL, so they know each other really well. It's going to be a tasty game.
And finally, China versus Haiti, both narrowly losing their first games. They both like to keep a tight, low block. So the question here will be, who can break out and score? My guess is that this might go to Haiti. And that is it for us here at the Women's Soccer Show. As always, head to our Patreon for extra content throughout this entire World Cup. We will be on the ground in Australia next week, so don't forget. And as always, this episode drops Tuesday. Our next one will drop Friday. We've got all of the coverage you need here, so stay with us. For the Women's Soccer Show, I've been Sarah.
I've been Ali.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.